Next beat over here.
Oh, you, Jocko.
Oh, my heavens. Let me first of all thank all of you for being here. This is about as large a news conference as I can recall. Obviously, this is an important day. It's an important event for Minnesota. First of all, I want to say that it's been a pleasure for me and for my family to have had the opportunity to serve as governor for the past 8 years. And in a democratic society, we deeply respect a professional, thoughtful transition. We in this country choose to change power through the ballot. And when the people speak, it's the responsibility of those in public office to make certain that we listen and that we carry out the full intent of their will, and that's precisely the goal of this administration. Several months ago, my chief of staff, Bernie Oman, started to lay out the early stages of an orderly transition. For those of you that were here 8 years ago, we were not blessed with such a transition. We came into power, and shortly after the election, it was announced that we had a $1.8 billion deficit, which gradually rose to some $2.2 billion. And we did not receive the kind of help that we needed from the agencies, et cetera. And it was enormously difficult. And then under the pressure, I think we had some 20-some-odd days after taking office to prepare the state's 2-year budget. And believe me, it was a very, very difficult year. The legislature has since made some minor adjustments so that the transition could be more professional, but also more timely. In meeting this morning with Governor-elect Ventura, I talked to him about the vast number of appointments that his administration will be making. I talked to him about the importance of putting together as quickly as possible a budget team. But I would never sacrifice speed for quality. The reality is it's increasingly difficult for state governments to attract top-level finance people because of the salaries and because of the attractive salaries in the private sector. But the budget itself is, without question, the most important document that a governor can prepare. And Governor-elect Ventura has indicated that he wants to put together a top-level team to work out the transition. They will be meeting with my chief of staff, Bernie Oman, and then we'll bring in the agency heads on a systemic basis based upon when the appointments are made. We prepared booklets. Do we have booklets here? Let me just show you. A guide to state agencies. You'll notice that we anticipated the election. Governor Jesse Ventura. And these were printed 2 weeks ago. But the purpose was, let me just pick out one. Let's see. That's the Washington office. Department of Employee Relations. This is the department that's in charge of all personnel policies that relate to some 50,000 employees. What we wanted to do was to give a history of that department, the functions of that department, and some of the personnel in that department. And so over the next 2 months, the Ventura administration and the Carlson administration can work together so that all the information needed is given to the new administration. And so when the governor is sworn in on the 4th of January, he comes prepared, and then he has approximately 4+ weeks for the submission of the budget. As I indicated to Governor-elect Ventura, We will have a budget process that can start as early as tomorrow morning. But I strongly recommended to him that he and his wife and family take a brief vacation, become familiar with each other again, and try to avoid answering as many questions as is humanly possible. But in the meantime, if he will, give us the name of the individual or individuals that are going to lead the transition, delegate the powers necessary to effect a good transition to those individuals, and we will commence the budget hearings. And then from there on in, I think we'll be in pretty good shape to get the budget wrapped up long prior to Christmas. Let me at this time, it's a pleasure on behalf of the people of Minnesota to introduce to the media the new governor of the state of Minnesota, Jesse Ventura.
As you can see, I'm already reviewing one. No, I would like to take this opportunity right now to thank Governor Carlson. He has been extremely cooperative, and I think we're going to get along very, very well to make this transition as easy as possible, because I think both of us agree that it's the state of Minnesota that matters the most. And I'll be working with Mr. Oman, and my people will be, to again make this transition as simple and get as educated as we possibly can. And I guess for me, I feel a little bit like Rodney Dangerfield. It's time to go back to school. And I will be doing that in the near future. But if I'm a little incoherent today, it's because I'm on no sleep. And as you know, we just got through with the 72-hour RVs across Minnesota, which were virtually no sleep. So I've had one day of sleep in probably the last 4 to 5. And it kind of reminds me of going back to Bud's training again, when I wanted to become a Navy SEAL. That's part of the agenda there. But again, we will be making the budget a very, very big top priority, probably priorities 1, 2, and 3 right now, because that's the most important thing in governing the state of Minnesota. And at this time, as you all know, it's a 2-year budget, and we need to have a good one in place. And again, I want to thank the governor. His hospitality is tremendous, and I think that it's going to make it that much easier for me, because you know, I think it was the press a little bit that made the comparison. I don't think Governor Carlson and I are that far apart politically when you look at us across the board. Our philosophies are very much parallel each other a lot. And and again, I simply will tell you this. As the new elected governor, I'll make the same promise that I made to all my cheering, loyal supporters last night out in Shakopee. I simply will say I will do the best job I'm capable of doing, and that's the promise that I've made to the people and the promise that I'll make to you. And so at that note, I'm done for now. Governor, anything else? I have a few people in mind. I haven't made the complete decision right at this very moment, but we'll let you know. We'll be getting into it over about the next week or so.
As you get past the budget and get that in place, and you get into a legislative session, what do you think is going to be the #1 emerging priority other than the budget as you go into '99?
I can't answer that right now. You know, you got a new legislature coming in also. And I think that, you know, they may have new priorities. I think they need to get in place, get sworn in also, and at that point in time, we will deal with it as we get to it.
How do you feel about the mix? A DFL-controlled Senate, looks like a Republican-controlled House, a reform governor. What does that do in terms of your effectiveness to govern?
I think it'll be interesting, to say the least. I mean, it's kind of like putting more ingredients into the stew. It might taste a lot better, depending on how the ingredients blends together.
Mayor, how are you going to stay unaligned? Is it going to be tempting to, and maybe you will on issue by issue, have to align yourself with one chamber or another, or one party's view of one issue on another? How are you going to walk that line to be the independent voice that I think people elected you to be?
Well, Eric, I'll just have to take them as they come along, and I make each individual decision one at a time. And I can't sit here and tell you right now how I plan on doing it. No matter what the issue is, I have to read the issue before I can make the decision on it of where I'll stand or what position I'll take on it.
Mr. Ventura, one of the central themes of your campaign was giving the money back.
Mm-hmm.
And the budget that has to be prepared within a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to keep that pledge?
Absolutely.
How are you going to do it? How much?
Jeez, Pat. I know, and I'm not trying to duck the issue at all right now, but like I said, my brain is only operating at such a level at this point in time that I'm not going to step my foot in it, if you get what I mean at this point in time. I've already stated that I do support very strongly a trigger mechanism. At what level or what percent that trigger mechanism will work for, I don't know yet. But there will be a trigger mechanism, because that was one of the strong things in my campaign that I believe in, is that budget surpluses should go back to the people by the same method as close as we can get into how they were received.
You did say in one radio ad that you will give $4 billion back.
I said I would have. It's gone. If it comes back again, yeah.
Mr. Ventura, you ran as the consummate outsider. Now you're the insider. You're the governor. How do you maintain that rebel image that people like so much about you?
I think that's more you people. I mean, I coach the rebels. That's why I wear it on my T-shirt. I'm not a rebel. I'm a veteran of this country. I support government. I support the state of Minnesota, and you know, I'm not coming on board to create some sort of rebellion here. I'm here to make Minnesota the best state it can possibly be with my political philosophies.
Jesse, do you imagine keeping any Carlson administration department heads?
At this time, I have no idea, you know, at this point in time.
People wondered about your level of experience. Now that you're here, are you at all overwhelmed? And do you see your level of experience as an advantage rather than a disadvantage?
I don't know at this time, but again, I'll repeat what I said before, that I've said many times. Senator Paul Wellstone had never served at all before. Congressman Rod Grams, I believe, was a TV news broadcaster who had never served before, and they seem to have adapted fairly well, and I think that I'm competitive, shall we say, with them.
Is it all overwhelming today?
Sure it is when you're on no sleep. You know, everything gets pretty overwhelming when you haven't had proper rest. You know, why don't you guys do it for a night and then come back and talk to me? Pardon me?
You're going to live at the official...
At this time, I don't know. I haven't decided what I'll do with my property. I haven't decided at all on I mean, I'm sure there'll be plenty of nights I'll spend there, regardless one way or the other.
Jesse, will you continue on the radio?
I don't know at this time. I am today from noon to 1. That's as far as I know. Coaching, absolutely. Absolutely.
What's the main message the voters sent by electing you?
Ask them.
What do you perceive as
I simply, I think a case, it's very simple, that they wanted someone who wasn't going to make them a lot of promises that they may not be able to fulfill in the end. And I took a lot of criticism over it, but I think it was the right thing to do. And it obviously worked.
In terms of giving back surpluses, you're talking about future surpluses.
Yes, yes.
Do you feel you have a mandate to do something positive, or simply hold back tax increases and bigger government, or are you going to be a big activist, or play more defense?
I'm not sure at this time. I couldn't even tell you what our game plan is for Blaine on Friday yet. So I certainly am going to hold the line on, like I made the promises, that I do not want taxes raised in the state of Minnesota anymore. We are highly overtaxed already, and so that'll be the battle that I face, is at least holding the line on them and keeping us where we're at. And you know, then with inflation and that, it'll work itself in as its own tax cut.
Governor Carlson, what are Governor-elect Ventura's biggest challenges in your view?
Probably to get some sleep. Now, let me just say this. It's very difficult, no matter who the governor-elect is, and no matter how many years he's been in government, and how many years he's been in elected office, to come in the day after an election with 37% of the vote, with one house of the legislature controlled by one party, another house controlled by the other party, and then come in with a definite game plan. I think it's abundantly clear what Governor-elect Ventura has said is he wants to maximize his flexibility, which at this point is probably a pretty good strategy. But at the same time, the process will continue. Our prayer is that by next week we can start the budget process, building the budget. We'll do it within the confines as he's laid out. And I'm going to assume that means no tax increases, etc. And we'll work with his team on it. But clearly this will be his budget designed to reflect his will, his priorities. But I still have 2 more months left as governor, and we also have a couple of wishes that we'd like to advance to the public as a whole for what we think will be inclusion in the next budget as well. And that's something that we'll negotiate with the Ventura administration.
Governor Carlson, would you envision handing over 8 years of service to the next governor? Is this what you envision? You standing next to the Reform Party candidate?
I'm not sure I understand your question. Did I envisage that I would have to, after 8 years, hand the keys of the governor?
There's a man standing beside you.
Well, he's bigger than I am.
Governor, could I add something?
Sure.
I was seated in a room at one point where Governor Carlson was endorsed by the Reform Party.
Right.
Governor, along that line, do you agree that you're maybe not that far apart from Jesse Ventura philosophically, as he said?
I think if you take a very broad view of it, Governor-elect Ventura is moderate on his social position, and he is conservative on the fiscal. And that clearly is where our administration has been. I think it's abundantly clear that's where the people of Minnesota are at. And I think that's a good vantage point from which to govern. So I think it's going to serve him very, very well.
Would it be fair to say, Governor, that Mr. Ventura was your second choice after Norm Coleman?
I'm not going to get into second and third choices. I mean, I think all of us have to respect the process of change. As I've stressed with Governor-elect Ventura, it's a distinct privilege to be elected governor of the people of Minnesota. This is the highest honor that they can bestow upon any individual. And it's been an honor for Susan and for I to have this, and now we pass it on to the people's choice, and that's what's important. The people's choice is Jesse Ventura. It's my obligation as governor to make sure that we have a good, solid, professional transition. I want him very, very much to succeed. And that should be also the goal of the legislature, because that's what the election process is all about. I still have a lot of resentments for the ill treatment that I received in the opening months, inheriting a very serious budget deficit and not having one single legislator stand up and assume responsibility or do anything constructive about it. I was very isolated. It was not fair. And in this particular case, we're turning over the keys of government as we vowed that we would do, with the state in a very strong financial position. Don't underestimate that. He's got a AAA bond rating. The reserves have never, ever been stronger. He's got over $2 billion in reserves. And the economic conditions in this state well exceed the condition of the national economy. We are growing jobs 60% higher than the national rate. And the public, I think, wants to continue this course. And this is precisely what Governor-elect Ventura has stated. So this is not only going to be an orderly transition, but it's a transition that I hope creates a lot of goodwill. Both Skip Humphrey and Norm Coleman have called. They've been extremely gracious. They want to be helpful. That's the way it is. I want the people of Minnesota to see politics at its very best. Yes, we can have substantial disagreements. Yes, we can be combative. I think that's fair. That's what a democracy is about. But in the end, we do want the people of Minnesota to win. And the way to make them win is to make sure this governor succeeds.
With that, we're going to take the show on the road right now. If you'd like to follow along, we're going to head down to B5, which is one.
Is this your first official act?
First official act, there you go.
Come back out, folks.
There's 4 or 5 offices down there.
Yeah, go.
You just get here? I just got here.
No, this is the only way to do it. This is excellent. Sorry.
Sorry.
Got that?
Coming from the Orthodox background, can you govern the state?
Well, first of all, Senator Wellstone had never been elected. Senator Grams had never been elected before. I've served 4 years as mayor, and I believe that this country initially was founded upon people going from the private sector, serving, and then going back to the private sector.
Have you any thoughts as to what you want to do to the state?
Serve it as best I can. I've told the people, like I did last night, I'll do the best job that I'm capable of doing and to the best of my ability, and the people accept that, I think.
Governor, what's the message to the country at large, if any? What's the message?
The country, I don't know what the message is to the country. I think maybe that, you know, I said it last night. In 1964, Muhammad Ali beat Sonny Liston when he wasn't supposed to. In 1980, we had an Olympic hockey team that wasn't supposed to win, and they did. So I think the message is, if you believe in your dreams, this is still the United States of America where dreams can come true.
I know it's early, Mr. Ventura. Can you name some of your top people you have in mind?
No,
You're going to stay on with KPAM? You're going to stay on with
I don't know. I don't know.
Thank you.
Mr. Ventura, is Jesse Ventura your legal name?
No,
What is your legal name?
you can find out. You're a reporter.
You're on the steps right now. How's it look now that you're governor-elect?
About the same as it did the last time I was here.
What did you tell your wife last night when you were hugging up on the podium?
How much I loved her.
She said, like, what are we doing here?
I don't know. I don't recollect right now. Thank you, everybody. Did they get my coat?
Yep, we got it.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Pat, be careful.
Ace all set?
Cool. Just hold up at the bottom, I'll never see it. There you go.
I don't know, but what's going on?
ABC World News.
Huh?
ABC World News.